view of adoption changed?
I don't have a lot to say on that, except I remember thinking, and I've had several friends lately say this to me too, like, oh, it would be such a great idea for me to adopt a child. Thinking, we have overpopulation, the obvious reasons, and thinking what a great altruistic thing that would be to do, to give up having my own biological child when I know I could. I just remember going through a little phase where thinking, oh, that might be a good idea. And I know now a lot of people are like toying with that. Even literally a friend of mine who has a son and can have more children, she's like, well, I feel guilty having another kid. But I didn't have, what were my views on adoption before this? I don't think I felt really negative or positive. I didn't know much about it. I definitely didn't know it was so widespread. I guess that's the main thing that changed for me. Is also, if you've been through an experience and you start talking about it, it draws people to you, or they will come, your paths will cross. So your perspective is like, oh, well, it's all over the place. Well, someone else next to you might not know that at all, just because they're not accessing that reality, I guess. So I just thought it was uncommon. And I thought maybe adoptees, because I knew they had been closed and then finally had started to be open. I thought of adult adoptees and closed adoptions as probably having emotional issues and probably having a lifelong struggle with being adopted and maybe lied to. And I just felt, those were the main things. What were your ideas of adoption prior?
My best friend and kind of like my sister growing up was adopted, and it was very much like her adoptive parents are her parents, period, the end. There was no question of anything beyond that, was my impression of it. And I always thought I would adopt for the idea of like there's a lot of kids that need homes, and I thought there's no difference between an adopted child and a birth child. And so I thought I would adopt, and the birth father was very against adoption. He's Iranian, and it was a big deal in our relationship to realize, like, for me to realize that he was like, you can't adopt. He was like, it's blood. Like, that was his cultural value. It was like, it's about blood. You can't just take somebody else's child, and you can't just give away a child. And it was a conversation. It was a thing, but we were just dating. We weren't talking about having children, and then I got pregnant. So, and there was no way I was considering adoption until I found out about how open an adoption could be. And given the things I was struggling with in my life, I thought, wow, if it can be that open, if we can all be one big extended family, and we can have, my mom and dad still be grandpa and grandma and have these visits, and just I can still be here. As for me, something that was important was this almost like spiritual connection I felt, and the things I've struggled with in my life. If I can pass on this wisdom just energetically, not like speaking about it, then it sounds really woo-woo, but then if I can be there for her in that way, then maybe I could start to consider this. And that was what I came to believe open adoption could be. And it's a sensitive topic because it has not been anything like I thought it would be at all. And I think it's my job to believe that her life is perfect. Like, there's nothing wrong with her life. And it's a paradox, because I think that if I had been counseled more thoroughly, I may not have placed her. And so what do you do with that? With this like kind of paradox of that all is well, and I'm not sure that that's what I would have done if I'd been more informed. And there's a lot of tension between me and her adoptive parents, and I really want to start to speak to that, to some of what caused that tension, but I don't want to create more tension by doing that. And I also never want to speak for my daughter's life and future and experiences. So I can have all my experiences of I think she needs her birth family, but we'll see what her experience ends up being, And there's a lot of fear that the conflict between me and her adoptive parents will shape or shut down her feelings about or toward me. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I would just say there is like for me, my experience is that my daughter will always have 4 parents. And that's been something I've been really afraid to say out loud. That I thought would be really like society would not like to hear that idea. And of course also fear is what if that's not her experience? Can it still be mine? I wouldn't push it on her, but it's my experience that I love her with a mother's love.